What's more exciting than looking at beautiful cars? Well, when they turn into gigantic, futuristic robots. The Transformers franchise took the entire world by storm and had a huge fan base. We love the movies and the animated series, literally all of them. So in today's video, we'll be honoring the series by ranking the top 14 Transformers from all of the universes. Without further ado, let's get to it. To start with, at the 14th spot, we've got the Dinobot. Not to be confused with the other Dinobots, this Transformer is probably the most recognizable character from the Beast Wars cartoon. This is in no small part because of the way he fights. He's a super strong warrior who, like Darth Maul, uses spinning blades. But what makes him stand out is that he always does the right thing. His goodness shines through all of his actions, as he's known for helping everyone, even his mortal enemies, the Maximals, to defend their honor. He eventually turned out to be a strong ally for them. Now for Prowl, at the 13th spot. The Autobot that can change into a police car should of course follow rules and authority. He's a lot like Mr. Spock. He just can't get enough of logic and order. Because of this, he can be hard to deal with at times and comes off as a little condescending. But at the same time, it also makes him a great strategist and tactician. With his impressive mental abilities, it's strange that he hasn't made it to the big screen from the comics yet. It might be because nobody likes being around snobs. Even then, Prowl has all our support. Coming up at the 12th spot, we have Skywarp. His specialty lies in the fact that he can change into different forms. A lot of Decepticons can change into planes that can fight but don't have a lot of creative ideas when it comes to fighting. But he's so awesome. He can teleport over long distances, which goes well with his change. He might not be the smartest bot on Cybertron, but his awesome skills more than make up for his lack of intelligence. In the classic series, his ongoing fight with Starscream and his strong love for Megatron makes him such an interesting character. In Transformers the movie, he was one of the Decepticons that was left alone and thought to be dead. Let's look at Rumble in the 11th spot. He's one of these smaller Decepticons on Soundwave's team. He can be super sneaky as a cassette and uses his ability to change form to his advantage. He is one of those bad guys who stands out because they work the hardest. He wants to become the leader of the Decepticons and tries his very best to be treated with respect, but his small size rarely makes him useful on the battlefield. This doesn't mean that his shaky arms are completely useless. He hasn't made it into the final version of the live-action movies, which is a shame. We would love to see him. Up next, at the top 10th spot, we have Jazz. He might just have the coolest name out of all the Transformers. He's the Autobot with the least amount of energy. This hipster robot likes hip-hop quotations. He stays calm in dangerous situations, which makes him a good choice for the most difficult and dangerous jobs. He was a main character in the first comics and cartoons, and he joined the other Autobots in the first live-action movie. Jazz is the laid-back fella that cursed at Megatron, which led to his face being ripped off. Even though he died heroically, fans hoped the coolest Transformer would stay in the movies for a little longer. What's more, we have Grimlock at the 9th spot. He's the fearless leader of the Dinobots. On either side of the war between the Autobots and the Decepticons, you won't find a stronger fighter. He has one problem though. He thinks he's important because he can't be hurt on the battlefield, but he doesn't care much about the weak humans the Autobots try to protect, and gets into fights with Optimus Prime. We wanted to see him in the movies from the very start and got our wish when he was featured in the Age of Extinction. We know this is the best of the series because Optimus Prime carried a sword and rode into battle on a roaring Grimlock. Eat your heart out, Braveheart. Following up at the 8th spot, we have Shockwave. Megatron relied on him to be his eyes and ears on Cybertron. He was also the one who gave the evil Decepticon ideas for many of the tools he used to attack Earth. He has shown that he is one of the enemy's sharpest, and most powerful morphing weapons. He may even be stronger than Megatron, so when those plans fail, we know who to blame. Even though he's much smarter than his master, he still loves him very much. Plus, he was supposed to be in the first Transformers movie with the Decepticons, but he didn't show up until the second movie, Dark of the Moon. Better late than never. Not to mention, Devastator at the 7th spot. The Constructicons were the first Transformers to come up with the idea that Transformers could work together to make even bigger fighters. All of them worked together to make sure that the Decepticons could win. When all the Constructicons came together, they turned into Devastator, which was one of the biggest and strongest Transformers. The real Devastator didn't show up until Revenge of the Fallen, the first sequel, but a Decepticon with the same name did show up in the first live-action movie. In the Egyptian desert, as many as 9 Constructicons got together and ate everything in their way, including sand, buildings, and Autobots. Not a bad start, but we hope to see more of this dangerous enemy going forward. Coming up at the 6th spot, we have Ironhide. He has been in many battles with the Autobots and has a lot of fighting experience. Also, he is the only robot who can make a minivan look both cool and dangerous. On the other hand, we weren't too upset when his Astrovan was replaced by a more sturdy pickup truck in the movies. Either way, he can kick some serious butt. He's one of the most well-known Autobots and shows up often in different media, especially in the first 3 live-action movies. Whether it was breaking our hearts in Transformers, the movie, or being betrayed by Sentinel Prime in the Dark of the Moon, he always seems destined to die horribly. That's so sad. Now for the top 5 with Megatron. In almost every version of the Transformers mythology, he is the main bad guy and plays the most important role. Even though he wants to end the human race, we can't help but love him. He used to be poor but then turned into the charismatic leader of the terrorist group. His ambition to become Emperor of the Universe was super huge, but he was never skilled enough to do it. He is neither the smartest nor the strongest Decepticon, but he's still able to keep his power and even get other Transformers to follow him. That's a good thing too, because being able to change into a huge gun wouldn't be very useful if he didn't have anyone to pull the trigger. Megatron has been a big part of all of the live-action movies, of course, but he hasn't always been seen as the most dangerous thing to humans. He came back in Age of Extinction, but this time as a better Galvatron, who promised to be an even bigger problem for his main enemy, Optimus Prime. Let's look at Bumblebee in the 4th spot. This Transformer is the most iconic in the entire universe. He's just as important to the Transformers as Optimus Prime is. He's one of the few Autobots to have been in every live-action movie so far, and he was one of the first to do so in the animated series as well. Even though his best friend, Sam Witwicky, wasn't along for the ride in Age of Extinction, he made an amazing comeback. This Autobot is young and inexperienced compared to the others, but since he's always trying to prove himself, his character is very likable and just super adorable. Up next, at the 3rd spot, we have Soundwave. This Decepticon is one of the most well-known bad guys in the first animated movies. He was easy to spot because of his unique voice, his habit of talking about himself in the 3rd person, and his army of little goons. In Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, he made his first appearance and got a second jet mode. We can ignore the fact that he's one of the main reasons behind the mass shifting. Everything aside, he's at such a high spot because he's an OG and is so cool, even in a world full of Transformers. Following up, we have Starscream. at the second top spot. While Megatron gets all the attention, everyone knows that Starscream is the real bad guy in the Transformers universe. Maybe it's because his new look is cooler than his boss's, or maybe it's because he has a big ego and wants Megatron to fail. But it could also be because he's always plotting and betraying, but he never gets in too much trouble. In any case, we think he has set a good boundary. Like Megatron, this supervillain has been in almost all Transformers media up to this point, including the first 3 live-action movies. Beast Wars showed what happened to him after he died, which tied that show to the original Generation 1 timeline. Overall, a really hardcore, underdog-level villain. Finally, at the top spot, we have Optimus Prime. Well, there are no surprises here. Being bad is fun, but neither Soundwave nor Starscream can beat the Autobot with the carburetor of gold. In every Transformers movie, Optimus Prime is one of the most important characters. We love him because he's brave, selfless, and completely devoted to his people and their new home on Earth. Plus, he can transform into the coolest bright red and blue 18-wheeler, making him the most recognizable Transformer ever. Unfortunately, his lack of self-interest shortened his life in the movie. You know which scene we're talking about. He died doing what he loved, saving people and making sure that his loved ones are safe. We were sad to see him go, but it had to be done. That's a wrap for this video. What are your favorite Transformers? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.